let's actually go into, I mean, something that we're already kind of alluding to is this motion to dismiss hearing tomorrow. So finally, the day is here. Originally, this SEC versus Richard Hart lawsuit was on October. The motion to dismiss hearing, anyway, was going to be a week from tomorrow, or last week on October the 24th. That got pushed forward, presumably by the SEC request for, maybe was it to throw off hexicans that are willing to attend as they started to find out that hundreds upon hundreds were going to flood the courtroom? Maybe, probably. They're shaking in their boots, but that's not going to deter anybody. It looks like that we've seen at least 200 people RSVP to go there. Many people are going to be in the courtroom tomorrow and are already in New York City for this thing. So it takes place tomorrow at 2 p.m. Going to be very interesting. And again, it is just the motion to dismiss. We had to school DJ Moonboy on this a couple of weeks ago. He was asked, he was like, wait a minute, I thought this was like the start of the trial or whatever. No, this is the motion to dismiss hearing, which is good because it was obviously filed by Richard's attorneys to dismiss this because, the number one argument really has been the whole jurisdiction thing. Like, does the SEC even really have the jurisdiction to bring this lawsuit forward with the shaky grounds of like, well, Hex was bought on Uniswap, and at least one of the Uniswap developers lives in the Southern District of New York, as do they in Tacoma, Washington, and Austin, Texas, and all these other cities, but we're going to bring it here because it's our home court. So there is an argument there, and RH's attorneys are going hard after that. And then, of course, they go all over the place with the idea of like, the SEC is obviously suing what are just entities. They're not companies. They're not securities. It's not, it's just creations that are on the blockchain. It's not really anything that they can actually sue. It's code essentially. So there's a lot of different ways that Richard's attorneys can go at this. I've often wondered, with this thing starting so late in the afternoon at 2 p.m., I mean, if they're both just giving their oral arguments, I hope they can get it done in 2 or 3 hours because that's probably all they're going to have. But it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, the judge's decision. Now, what are we going to see over the next 24 hours? Really just cool stuff coming out from the hexicans. Nuclear Herbs will be sharing plenty of stuff. He already has been. People will be meeting up, I'm sure, discussing how it went. I'm sure we're going to get a very colorful picture, maybe even some drawings. Well, let's get some courtroom drawings here. I would love to see that, of what's going on in the courtroom. But we're going to get plenty of details. And then, again, and you could speak to this, I know, Ewok, is that Richard's attorneys, I think, are kind of holding court for some of the hexicans that are going to be there. Talk to them about how they thought things went, maybe what their plans are a little bit going forward without getting into details they can't really share. But yeah, what are your overall thoughts about this? The fact that there's going to be major representation from the Hex community and stuff. Just going to be a very fun event, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a great time. Obviously, no recording devices, no cell phones, nothing like that. Like you said, they take that from you. If you try to carry it in, they're going to, they're going to put it in a box until you come back out to. But so I don't know if we have a resident Hexican that is a sketch artist. That would be cool, though. If we had some drawings from the court. But I do know a lot of people are looking forward to it. I'm excited for the SEC to see how many people are coming. How many people are representing this thing that they say we've been fooled or manipulated in any way. I think it's fantastic that they get to go and support a cause. Would be cool if Richard was there. I highly doubt he will be, but still good to get to see the team at work. Now, again, I don't know how many lawyers will be present. He does have a team of what is it 11 or 13? I forget.
I think 11.
I think it's 11 as well. Don't know how many of them will be at this case. That would be interesting to see all 13 lawyers or 11 lawyers walk in the door and represent. That's kind of intimidating in itself too. So, as for the show, or not the show, but the meeting afterwards, I'm not going, so I didn't get a whole lot of details on where it's going to be or what's going down. I think it was on the was it the Pulse Chain Tour? Pulse Chain Tour website. Look it up and see if you can see anything on there. I'm sure the tickets have probably been pulled down by now, maybe. But no, again, I think it's. I think the jurisdiction is probably our strongest argument that that they have, but they've got other ones exactly down the line, like you said. How can you sue code? How can you? Well, first of all, you can't stop it. So even if they
Right.
were to sue it, there's no way to stop it unless you pull Ethereum offline somehow, which isn't going to happen. So again, there's that. There's the one I think is probably I would say the weakest, and it's not even the weakest, but I think they're going to gloss over it. Like you can't call it that. Is the whole code is speech, and we have freedom of speech? I don't. Something just tells me that they're going to be like, no, code is not speech. But we'll see how the judge interprets it. So, again, I think they've got the best argument with the jurisdiction, and
Yeah.
it just goes from there, and then they can, well, if that one doesn't fly, then I totally see if they say they do have jurisdiction, then everything else kind of gets held back for the actual trial, because if this doesn't go through, then the actual trial, the civil trial, will follow suit, so they can save all of that for then.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what our friend Johnny Chaos just said here. I mean, yeah, sue forks, sue wheels, whatever it is you want to do,
exactly.
ideas that exist. And Pandora's box has been open. The cat's out of the bag. There's just not much you can do anymore. And that's not just for Pulse Chain. I mean, that's for Bitcoin. That's for Ethereum. I mean, it's all the same, in terms of that. Now it's one thing if you're talking about these, corrupt entities that we did have the last cycle, like Celsius. What, I can't even remember them all anymore.
Luna.
Well, yeah, but I was more so thinking, yeah, definitely that. But I was thinking of the actual like platforms, like lending type platforms or whatever the hell they were, where they were basically all centralized. But it was like, oh yeah, you can stake your tokens on here. I just remember Celsius, Three Arrows Capital or something. A few other ones, yeah.
Well, they started to crack down on Coinbase for the staking. I'm pretty sure Luna was the other one though that you could stake on their platform. They turned out being fraudulent as well. And there are still several. I think they came down on Gemini's staking as well. So,
it's interesting because last cycle it seemed like there was the destruction of all these centralized entities that were, actual scams like Mashinsky and people like that. Yeah. This time around, it's like, oh, okay. So, you got some actual scammers like Sam Bankman-Fried and stuff like that, but now they're just continuing to sue anybody that there is to sue, even if it's actual crypto. So, I mean, if they lost to Ripple, they did. I mean, we have to remember that sometimes. Like they didn't just lose to, they didn't, settle their suit or anything like that with Ripple. They lost that lawsuit. Like they 100% lost it, written in stone. The judge said as much, denied the appeal. Like they lost it as much as you can possibly lose it. And that's against Ripple, who, I mean, they have CEOs, owners, and things like that literally do dump the tokens, So, I mean, if there's anything in crypto, if there's any token, I guess, that would be deemed a security, you would think it would be the XRP token, and it was not. So, I mean, there's just not much here. We will see, of course. It's all really up to the judge. I mean, we're probably going to hear something 60 to 90 days or so from now. So I'm going to just not count on it by the end of the year, but maybe we'll get a little surprise and we will hear something by Christmas or something. Who knows?
Would be nice. Would be, we'll have to see how this judge, how quickly she moves, right? If this is a clear cut and dry case, and they present a very good case that she's finding hard to argue what they're saying, it could be quicker. But again, we have to kind of wait and see how it plays out and how they argue it, how the SEC defends what their accusations are. Because with these guys, like I said, being top-notch lawyer team, they've been around. They've testified in front of Congress. They've done, many good things. So if they can present a very, very strong argument to the original case of jurisdiction, it could be pretty simple. But I do agree with you. being optimistic, saying that we'll get some sort of decision by the end of the year. That's wishful thinking, I think.
Yeah, it could be. I did post in the chat straight from the Pulse Chain Tour website their actual RSVP link to the event. Right now, it has over 253 names, or 256 or so have RSVP'd. Yeah, so that's how many we have RSVP'd at this right now. Man, going to be really interesting to see what does transpire over the next day here. Yeah, Voyager, that was another one. BlockFi, yeah, Johnny, a lot of crap. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic just to see how this transpires. So if I were to give a prediction, like I hate to say it, but just because percentages usually fall in this favor, I'm going to say that we don't get an announcement from her for a little while, but she denies the motion to dismiss just because it's so hard to actually get those dismissed. But I mean, if it gets dismissed, I mean, it's going to be bullish beyond belief. I mean, because these things just don't happen. Like Nuclear Herbs quoting him. I mean, he said that typically in most core civil cases like this, 10% chance you have for a motion to dismiss to get granted. He believes in this one because of how, flippant the lawsuit is, that they have more like a 30% chance. But it could still happen. But just imagine, I mean, what would you, I know we've had this discussion many times. I think you were just going to go there, but should we get, say December 15th, we hear, yes, it's been dismissed. They're not going to hear this any further and it's just been dismissed. And if the SEC wants to come again later, they can do that. But what do you think happens with
I stick by my original prediction. I think what I say 10x, the price.
Yeah, within like a couple days.
No. I said within a month.
No, you said a couple days, I think.
No. I remember what I said. 10x within a month. I think you could see some crazy if it gets dismissed. I think within a month you see a 10x on a few of them, maybe not all of them. I think Hex definitely. You would see that 10x price, and that would go from 2 pennies to 20 cents. I mean, it's really not that unheard of. We've been there before. So
true.
I could see very, very bullish things come out of that. What say you?
I mean, now that you're kind of couching it with, a month and not all the ecosystem, I didn't really mean that. I mean, you're kind of walking a few things back.
No. So, come on, man.
I mean, a dismissal is way different than just a victory. You know what I mean? Like a victory after trial and stuff like that would be one. The other thing is, like, they're totally different time frames. Like, we're talking about if this were dismissed, we're knowing it by end of January, probably. Like that's the time frame. So it'll still be before everything is taken off like hardcore, but we'll still be probably more bullish than we are right now. So yeah, I mean, I guess I've always been thinking of it in a short term. Like if it gets dismissed over the next couple of days, I think we definitely 2x like immediately, like maybe like in hours, literally. I think that would happen. As far as a 10x in a month, maybe. I mean, the time frame is just. It's hard to nail down the time frame, now that you're, not saying that you meant instantly anymore whenever before you did, but,
I don't know about
that. But it would certainly be unbelievably bullish. Yeah. And the cooler thing is not only would it be bullish, but it would be coinciding with like a time frame where things are, ready to go up anyway. So yeah. Kind of a double whammy there, which would be awesome.
Yeah,
so
it'd be crazy if this was all kind of planned, right? People say that a lot of times. You hear how calculating, RH is and things like that, and it would be crazy to think that he even. I don't think you could plan for this time frame at all. But
I definitely don't think that. But I have always said this, and I maintain it because he's just way too smart of a guy, and the stuff he did just seemed too purposeful and intentful otherwise. I do actually think that he was trying to tempt the SEC the last couple of years, but maybe not just like, I mean, obviously you don't want to like catch a lawsuit if you don't need to have one or whatever, but maybe he just felt it was an inevitability and he knew had the confidence and, I mean, why was he being as flashy as he was? I mean, I think that was part of it kind of. So anyway.
Yeah. And I totally agree with Hexco here. He would live stream, I would say pretty much right away. I'm pretty certain the reason he hasn't been is because he's been advised not to. But if it gets dismissed, that goes out the window and he's free to do what he wants. So I think we get a very fast live stream from him. How bullish is that?
Agree. Oh my God.
If you see those words,
I can't even imagine.
Live stream in 10 minutes, question mark? Like
Yeah.
how many retweets would that get? It'd be crazy.
Yeah. I cannot even imagine, man. And that's why we've been saying for so long. I mean, not that we know or think even necessarily that this is going to get dismissed, but just be prepared for 2025 to be extremely different from how the last 3 years have been. Like, not only in price action and stuff like that, but just narratives completely changing, things coming back that you thought were dead, Richard live streaming again, and things like that. Like, things are going to change big time. Yeah, it's going to look totally, totally different.
Oh, yeah.
And you can kind of see that just gradually. I mean, 2022, was a horrible crash. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket. 2023 was like not much better, but at least we were kind of accumulating, but nothing good was happening. 2024, markedly within crypto, has been good. Of course, there's still been drama. Not a lot of people are getting, rich or anything yet or anything, but things are getting better. And 2025, it's going to be vastly different. So
yeah, 2024 has been a very sideways year. I mean, and that's that is your accumulation phase. That's what it's designed to do as part of that cycle. Is the year before the pump year is when you should be buying and DCAing